Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome the room, Birmingham. Welcome the internet. I'm reminded to tell you we are being broadcast live. Welcome to the session on how do we use AI to make ourselves more cyber secure. I have not seen as much hope in a technology since blockchain and the future security applications. So it's wonderful to see a room filled to the brim. My name is Ollie Whitehouse. I'm the CTO here at the National Cybersecurity Centre, and I'm joined by a number of learned colleagues who are going to speak for between 5 and 7 minutes each on their opening remarks before we go to a set of Q&A, reminding you that we have Slido open. So for those online, those in the room, we do have Slido available for you to answer any questions, which we will come to at the end. So I'm joined by Simon Llewellyn. Simon is from a deep partner of the NCSC, our Canadian equivalent, the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. We then have Wim van der Schoot, who is a member of the technical security engineering staff at Anthropic, an AI company. And similarly, we have Dr. Sara Vicini, who's security operations and data science lead at 2T Security Limited. So I'm going to hand the floor over to them now. Bring the questions. That's what we want. So please, if we can come to you, Simon. Thank you.
Geez, that's bright. Can I borrow those orange sunglasses there? No? All right, well, welcome everybody. Let me start us off on our journey for AI. I'm going to start off at the top, and then I'll hand it over to Wim and Sarah, who will really blow your minds with what they're doing in this space. Common sense, AI, exponential growth. We're all experiencing it now. User adoption everywhere, and it's limitless. I mean, these are some of the factors that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So from the Canadian Centre of Cybersecurity, this is the problem space we're dealing with right now. We've got a sensor program right now across our government agencies at the host base, the network base, and at the cloud base, collecting so much information that we have tons and tons of data to go through. That is one of the problems, that our current signature-based applications and our analysts just don't have the time to do it. And then the last bullet, of course, we've got 1 or 2 analysts and we cannot get through all of this information in a timely manner. So what do? We introduce AI to the problem. So this is very common stuff. We've got neighborhood watch, alert generation. So what we're doing here is we're trying to beat the click, get those IOCs out there before they're clicked on. So what we're trying to avoid is, through those millions and millions of data points, avoid having to analyze all the spam that we're getting. So really what we're doing is we're using a clustering methodology to really identify those high potential IOCs and put them into action. So really find the middle stuff, or the good stuff. High level overview of how this is done. We've got a front end, does a little bit of processing, then we bring it in through the AI phases, if you will, and at the end, the alert phase, a little bit of heuristics, but there's still a human in the loop at the end phase, but that human is now focusing on where we need to focus. Can't have a slide deck without some stats. So we started back in November, and you can see it's been progressively going up in the millions, if you will, of emails that we're collecting, predominantly on our cloud-based sensors right now, but you can see over the months, we're talking lots and lots of stuff to look at. But with the addition of AI and machine learning, we're now generating alerts that we would have never found, up in the thousands. And what does that do? We're actually finding IOCs now that we can put out there and actually dynamically introduce our sensors to, so that we can block effectively. We're also looking at a program called Martello, malware detection, if you will. So the actual model itself uses looking at portable executable files, and it's really using what we call extraction to break down what we're seeing and do some reverse engineering, if you will. What we're finding right now is we're finding some good successes, because as the model is doing the clustering, we have some potential now to find some zero-day IOCs here that we might not have found in the wild otherwise, because that AI is doing that comparison at scale for us. Can't have a presentation without some generative AI. Of course, we're using generative AI. So assembly line, probably a tool many of you might already know. Malware detection for files, you plug it in, it pumps out a report. The new assembly line 4 now, 3 improvements, code to text. So we'll be able to provide actual information that's readable from the code, enhanced report summary, so executive summary. So if you don't have time, well, the AI will actually generate an executive summary. And the big thing now is that you can interrogate it. So you, just like in any chatbot out there, you can just start asking it questions, and it doesn't necessarily pool from the report it's looking at. It actually pools from a full database. So that's kind of cool in that space. Copilot for cybersecurity publications. So near and dear to my heart, because that's mainly my field, the publications of advice and guidance. I think on a number of days, at least 2 or 3 times a day, Sammy or Rajiv comes to me, Simon, do we have a publication that talks about edge devices? Do we have anything on MFA? And of course, I'm like, I think so. Now we've introduced an internal Copilot right now that's using a generalist model, because we don't have the time or resources to fine-tune one, but we're using a retrieval augmented generation. So the generalist model is implemented into the environment, and we're using RAG training on our publication database, and the outputs are quite good. Again, I can interrogate it, I can ask it questions, and it's really cool stuff. That's all I got for you. I'll hand it over to Wim.
Wim, can we invite you up?
So, hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be speaking here today. So I work at Anthropic, where we build some of the largest and most capable large language models out there, and also perform frontier AI safety work. You may have heard of our model. It's called Claude, but it's very similar to other models you might have seen, such as ChatGPT and GPT-4 from OpenAI. At Anthropic, I work on the production security engineering team. So I work very closely with our training and inference teams on our very large compute clusters, trying to secure all our critical IP, particularly our model weights. So that puts me in a pretty fortunate position to both work on the frontier models, but also use them in my day job to improve the security engineering and cyber defense team. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it's very short. I'll move fast. It's a packed agenda, but there's, I guess, 2 main takeaways for this presentation. I think one is, which people just are not that aware of, is that, of the scaling laws hypothesis, and essentially, I'm pretty sure we're going to see AI's cyber defense increase a lot in the next few years. The models are going to become ever more capable with more compute, and then the market will adopt them. But also give you some concrete examples of just small tools we've built inside our team. So yeah. So first, why will these models be more adopted and become more powerful? This is something not many people are that aware of yet. So back in 2020, there was a paper actually published by members of the Anthropic founding team called the scaling laws hypothesis. So you can see here on this graph that on the x-axis, essentially, the more compute we put in, there is a log linear relationship with the loss value, which is the performance of the model on a test set. And basically, as we see, as we build these larger and larger and larger models, we're getting emerging capabilities. And this is kind of seen in practice, GPT-2, 3, 4, Claude 2, 3, so forth. So yeah, why is this important here? Well, I think as we think about the next few years of cyber defense usage, we will be seeing these models rewriting all our memory unsafe code. It's very likely we'll be using these models to iteratively and frequently running over all our software supply chain, using sub-agents to go off and research part of our questions. So, okay, here's the GitHub repo, go and search all the code, go and search all the commits, do some research on the developers and see what they're up to. But also just, I think we've seen also in current usage as well, but also increase the models triaging all the detections and acting upon them straight away so humans can get to them quicker. But yeah, for this talk as well, I wanted to just give some concrete use cases. I would probably say, personally, I find I'm probably using these large language models, I'm in the tens of % productivity increase. We use them across the whole stack, improving our quality of work and decisions, and I can only really see these integrated further into our workflows in the future. So yeah, quick run through, let's see how many I can do of quick examples. These are, yeah, pretty like dog foodie type examples. So the first one is working with infrastructure. I realize not everyone will be able to see the text, but anyway. So yeah, often as like on our Blue team, I'm working with our infrastructure and we partner with Google Cloud in some cases. So often like having to go and find documentation and so forth can be slow. But to go from the command line, I can literally say to the model, okay, I want to do this action. What do you propose? And then here it kindly gives me the suggested command, and we can iterate on this and work through the tasks together with the model. This is a credit to my colleague Rudyard Richter. We've got several tools like this where we're just really like, this does actually speed up quite a bit. Building security controls, like we all want to have better documentation. If someone is reviewing code, it's very good to have good descriptions and comments. So we run our models on all our commits, on our PRs, to generate very helpful descriptions of these. Information gathering, so you may be also inundated with Slack and Microsoft Teams and other channels. And on the security team, it's good to have an idea of what's going on. So we have an internal app which searches across all of our Slack and finds out all the highlight conversations which we can dig into as a security team and find out, okay, does this project need a security view, for example? Also, code autocomplete, I think this is a pretty common one people are using today to improve the quality of their code and the security of it as well. And then also we run, like we do the PR reviews for generating descriptions, we also have this cool tool from Rudyard again called SAS, which is quite well developed to provide security-related advice on the code you write. Similar again, like feeding in large documents. Similar to code, we can review a lot of Terraform files for security misconfigurations, which have been very useful. The software supply chain, so when I have colleagues in all different departments saying, oh, I want to use this SaaS vendor, there's an incredible amount of documentation, SOC 2 reports, ISO reports, and so forth. And it's really useful to just dump all of these into Claude model and find out, basically ask it continuous questions. Are there any ambiguities, any notable findings, and iterating to really save you a lot of time here. And then, comparing, also using model to compare code with the design docs. We know that design docs and then the code written after them often change. And I think this is the last one. They're so useful for getting a lot of documentation into your model and then getting it to summarize. I think we have a lot of developers working on a lot of projects across the stack, producing huge design docs and so forth, and making sure that we can quickly get summary descriptions and ask the model to check for any security considerations does help a lot. I think that's right on 7 minutes. And thank you.
Very much.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Sara Vecchini, and I would like to share with you a few lessons learned in implementing AI solutions, specifically regarding threat detection. So part of my job, I am often facing this kind of ask from stakeholders. So as a stakeholder, I'm seeking an AI-driven solution in order to solve some cybersecurity issue, and I want the solution to, I want to trust the solution. I want it to be able to adapt to changing environment, changing threats, and changing behaviors. And at the same time, I want to be able to trust my data. So I would like to highlight a little bit on the ask to start with, the AI-driven solution to start with. So why is that is the case? So many reasons, but we can start from this study from IBM, where it shows the drive to accelerate the AI adoption from different stakeholders inside the organization. And you can see that board members, investors, creditors, lenders, and media and press are really strong drivers and really influential in this. So on one side, we have a strong driving to implement AI in our organization. The other side, I would like to kind of share some lessons learned on how to tackle this and how to find the right compromise in terms of deploying and developing solutions that are effective for threat detection. So the first, I use typically a couple of guiding principles. The first principle is KISS principle, keep it simple. So the idea is to build solutions that are as simple as possible and increase complexity over time. The other principle is to use a use case driven approach. By using a use case driven approach, then we can focus on the outcome and the tools and methods that are related to, that are the best suited for the outcome that we are trying to achieve. This has a few implications. The use of those has a few positive implications, in my opinion. The first one is that we can focus on, we can identify much more easier the data that we are going to use in order to train our models. And also we can put guardrails around the data that we are feeding our model to in terms of inference and the processing. And because they are use case driven, then we can associate a value straight out of the box. Another perk of this is to be able to build trust by design. So now trust is a bit of a personal thing in terms of how everyone has a different concept of what is helping them to trust a solution. However, I found few commonalities among my stakeholders, and the first one is requirement for explainability. Explainability in terms of understanding what the model does, and also how the model reach a given conclusion and reach a given conclusion. So there are a few ways in order to do that. One way is, for example, to use intrinsically explainable algorithm, such as decision trees, where the analyst, for example, can follow up the decision path of the AI that took in order to reach a given outcome. The other thing that is often underestimated, but is exposure to AI for stakeholders. So by exposing AI early in the journey, then I found it is you can take the stakeholder into a journey and then let them become more and more familiar and start to understand the good and bad of the AIs in terms of the performance and the capabilities. Final bit here is about being aware of limitation and pitfalls, and that includes hallucinations, misinformation, false positives, and so on. But awareness is not enough. We need to be able to test, assess, and do a proper analysis on the weaknesses and strengths of the AI system that we are using or we are building. The other bit is about often, unfortunately, AI is seen as a magic black box that we deploy and we kind of forget about and does its own thing and provides some outcome. So that cannot be far from truth. So in order to be able to use AI to make sure that stay relevant, adapts to the threat that we are trying to face and different behavior changes and so on, we need to be able to continuously improve, continuously monitor, and put the human in the loop, as Simon was also mentioning, in order to make sure that the AI is performing correctly. So we need to think really about AI in terms of both. It is a software solution at the end of the day. So we need to think about it as a software solution, which also poses additional challenges that are related to the models, related to the data fed and used to train the models, and all the ethical concerns and so on that are around the use of AI. With AI-specific challenges, also we need to remember that it brings an increased attack surface. So that is often overlooked as well. So using AI, both for on-premise or in-house deployment and use third parties, AI provider, brings also the possibility for attacks to AI systems, AI-enabled systems. Final concern is about the privacy, and Willing or not, we are siphoning out some data from our organization, so we need to be able to understand understand the implication of using AI, and in some niche use cases we might want to think about deploying local and custom AI model that maybe that come with their own challenges, but that's also an option that we might need to consider in some scenarios. Finally, I would like to conclude with a reflection on the maturity of AI, especially when we choose and we identify the solution that we are going to use or to deploy in the organization. And the maturity in terms of the maturity of the models and the AI used, for example, supervised and unsupervised learning are much more mature compared to generative AI. However, we need to allow to understand what is the value that those are bringing for our organization, and also match against the roadmap that we want to walk through over time. So. Thank you. Here are my contact details. Please come to see stand G1 if you are around.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to the panel session, and there's some good questions coming in, so I'll tease you with those, and we'll go to some of our set questions first. So, Sarah, if I can start with you. Are AI security solutions hype, or are they legitimately going to be a positive development for good, please?
Right, good one. I believe that there is a huge hype right now. The hype is partly justified because there are new advances, new use cases, and new breakthroughs that are kind of on a daily basis almost, especially in the generative AI space. I think after a period of settlement, we will start getting real value out of AI. So in my opinion, while there is a huge hype, then there is also a high potential that we hopefully going to be able to explore in the future.
Thank you. Wim, Simon, do you want to come in on that?
Yep, definite positive development for good. I think we've been using machine learning for EDR and EPP technologies for malware detection for a long period of time already. And yeah, continuing to integrate them further, and that'll be definitely good.
Yeah, I agree. There is a definite hype, but it's a good hype. And as I mentioned, the analysts now are seeing the benefits of these applications, and it's almost like a relief in place. They're getting relief on some of their duties now. So the hype is real, but it's good.
Very good, thank you. So coming to you again, Sarah, how can we trust an AI cybersecurity solution, building on your explainable AI point?
Yeah, okay, so let's put a pin on the explainable AI. So I think, we can build trust by exposing AI to the user. So we are seeing it with the use of LLM and the democratization of AI. So that allows people to understand and become more and more familiar with AI. Another point is about testing and understanding what are the capabilities and what are the downfalls of, the weaknesses of AI. That would like to come back on the explainability on the side of things. So I think right now I see a lot of drive, and I agree on understanding how AI works and how it generates the outcome and so on. So explainability is a major driver for trust. However, I think in the future that as we mature, both in terms of AI capabilities and also our use in society and use in the field, in cybersecurity field of AI, I think this is going to be fading out a little bit, and it will become more a commodity and become more about understanding the use, what is good about AI, and understanding the applications without really needing to go, unless we are in certain fields like forensic or threat detection, that you might want to do a little bit more analysis on that.
Thank you. Simon and Wim?
Yeah, I think, so historically most of the machine learning models, they've been quite statistical, and we've accepted that with a certain boundary. With the large language models, I think, there's key research going on in particularly Anthropic and mechanistic interpretability, which is proving to, show some really good results. But I think generally when you're using, I'll probably speak to more to large language models and generative AI, you need to make sure that the system it's in is reliable and resilient. I do a lot of technical controls on insider risk. Don't trust one individual, you make sure that the system, I think particularly at the moment what we're seeing is having robust trust and safety solutions around the model, which are uncorrelated with the main model.
Simon.
I cannot explain AI, I'm telling you right now. But I can understand it a little bit. And I think it really depends on the audience that you're speaking to and what level you need to speak to, because there's definitely a gap on what folks think they know about AI and what potentially we know about AI. I told my wife I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we were having a chat, and I said to my wife, do you have ChatGPT on your phone? And she goes, no. I said, well, why not? She goes, well, I know how to write correct sentences. Why would I need ChatGPT? So anyway, we had a little chuckle about that, but it just goes to show that the varying levels of knowledge of AI and trying to explain it, it's quite broad. In fact, the Cyber Center right now is putting in 2 learning programs through our learning hub, if you will. One that focuses on just general use of AI for common users, and then the policies and the do's and don'ts of AI for the folks, the cyber practitioners that need to know a little bit more detail. So that's kind of how we're tackling that problem space.
Very good. Okay, there's some really good questions coming in, but I'm going to ask one more from the set piece because I think it's important. How should we approach quantifying the real-world risk to and from AI in an evidenced manner? Who wants to take that one first?
Sure. I think, Anthropic, we have a very clear responsible scaling policy. So every time we scale up our model in compute size, we have to meet a lot of quite stringent that we put on ourselves in terms of requirements. And some of these are security, some of these are trust and safety. But many of these are on model evaluations. If you want to quantify the real world risk, it's normally useful to get some empirical evidence. And we're doing a lot of that. So this is on bioweapons, CBRN, cyber evaluations as well, and we're putting a large effort into that.
Thank you. Sarah, any views?
I think, first of all, identifying the risk that we are most concerned about is probably a good starting point. And then monitoring and scenario analysis. So try to build scenarios based on the risk that we believe or we are most concerned about, and test the AI models against those scenarios.
Thank you. Simon,
Sure, if I can really simplify it in my head. So I've often explained it as a 4-box model. You've got the inputs to the AI itself, the model, the data that it trains on, and then the outputs. I think as a cybersecurity professional, those are the 4 areas that we need to be considering, especially when you're looking at defending the model itself. So if your model is within your network, you're really worried about the sandbox. And if it's outward facing, you're really worried about those inputs that could potentially come in uncompromised or psychologically or socially misinterpret the outputs. And again, what kind of outputs are going to be pushed out of the model itself. So using that 4-box model, applying cybersecurity principles around that, I think that's how I'd approach it.
Thank you. And just the NCSC UK perspective is when we look at AI, we look at it through 3 lenses. So threat from, so what cyber capability is it going to give adversaries, and how is that kind of quantifiably better than they might otherwise with Google and an off-the-shelf tool? Threat to, so how can these systems be attacked? And we recognize deeply that often it is common web application vulnerability classes and similar that they inherit in the first instance. And then on top of that, what is AI specific? And then obviously the application of in the cyber defense sphere. So it's a balanced equation. And we do have some great questions. So I'm going to go to those in the spirit because we have about 15 minutes left. So to develop world-class skills in this area, is it better to teach cybersecurity experts about AI, or to teach AI experts about cybersecurity? There we go.
I'm
Written by an AI expert. So I don't know. It's,
I'm looking at the young guy here. What do you got?
Go, because Wim, it's actually important because you actually have a background originally in cybersecurity, and you have latterly learned, or you appear to have latterly learned, kind of AI as a discipline.
Yeah, well, interestingly, my first 2 years at university was spent on machine learning. So.
Well, there we go. Okay.
But,
it's a sandwich
I
course
have-
of cyber in the middle.
yeah, I have spent a lot of time trying to think about how we can get more talent in the intersection of AI and cybersecurity. Yeah, and I think there is this kind of innate security mindset that cybersecurity practitioners have. So I have worked with a lot of ML people on trying to work with security, and some of them do have that security mindset. So I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think we have to go both ways. I've seen success in both, but I think I've often found that that kind of innate security mindset and a lot of real-world experience has been extremely valuable.
Sorry.
You see, I come from the opposite background. So I come from analytics and data and so on, and I joined the cybersecurity field later on. So my perspective is that analytical mindset is relatively similar to the cybersecurity mindset, especially on the defense side of things. So I think both ways are reasonable and successful. It really depends on the individual, and I personally can vouch for the coming from the data science side of things and dipping your hands into cybersecurity.
Yeah, I come from an IT background, and then I got into a cybersecurity background. So I think, the journey is there, and now we're into an AI field. I spoke about this. It can't be AI versus cybersecurity. It needs to be one and the same at the end of the day. So I don't know what the learning plan or the syllabus looks like, but I think if you're going to embark on this journey, you need to do both. That's my opinion on that one.
Yeah, and I think I'll just offer a view briefly, which is, we can try and create the superheroes, these people that are on this perfect vein of cybersecurity expertise and AI, and there'll be about 54 of them in the world, right? Or we can build multidisciplinary teams that bring kind of those experts together and challenge each other, and I think that's how we scale in reality and a natural cross-pollination. Okay.
May I add
Yeah,
also
please.
the fact that having people coming from one or the other field or IT field in general, those bring different perspective and also brings different way of thinking, and that's all the best, all the better in order to defend our organization against threats.
Very good. Okay, so the next question. What should we not allow or be worried about AI doing for cybersecurity? Yeah, easy questions on a Tuesday afternoon in sunny Birmingham.
Can I get the question again, please?
Yes, it is. What should we not allow or be worried about AI doing for cybersecurity?
This has a bit of a human in the loop nexus here. I don't think AI can run amok by itself right now. I think it'll come a time where, sure, we'll have high confidence that it can do some of the executables, if you will, that a normal analyst would do. But at this point, I think I don't want AI without a human in the loop.
Okay, very good. Yet, you'll still allow some humans just who are asserting their insta-expert status. Sarah?
I think it depends on the context. There are certain contexts where we can give a little bit more freedom to AI maybe without necessarily the human in the loop. Like, for example, malware detection into an enterprise. If we segregate the environment, or if we detach the computer from the network, that could have low stakes. And worst case, a user will be without computer for a day. In other cases, we cannot allow that. So, for example, if we are running AI in critical systems, then absolutely not. So we might want a very close eye from humans, and we shouldn't allow the AI to run through freely.
Can I build on that one?
Please.
I don't want AI to build AI. I think I wouldn't be okay with that.
You've seen this Black Mirror episode, right? Yeah, so, understood. William, do you have a view?
Yeah, what am I worried about with AI and cyber? So I think, cyber criminals out there are using AI already. They have been for a while. I think it's particularly useful for, like building malware that is hard to detect, iterating a lot. I think we've seen publicly as well, like state actors have been abusing, been using the generative models for themselves to speed themselves up in their like own capabilities for cyber. So like as a productivity increase for coding and so forth. And then I think as we see the capabilities of the models improving, they'll go from aiding humans to be able to basically do what humans do. I think there's some very clear like misuse risks with cyber and AI. I think there's some particularly dangerous ones. Like I think if we do put more compute into them and they do scale, we will see them being able to find vulnerabilities a lot. We'll be able to see them probably with sub-agents perform campaigns. I think there are a lot of worries.
Very good. And I think my perspective would be, it depends on if it's human in the loop, human on the loop, and then the liability I'm carrying of letting it do the thing. So I think irrespective of what it does, those are the kind of the risk calculuses that you'll run through. This is a question dear to my heart. The anti-snake oil question, I think can be described as. Everyone is going to be saying that their AI cyber application is awesome. Not that we've ever seen that ever before. How should we distinguish between what the good ideas are and the hype?
I presented 4 fabulous solutions at the beginning here. I think we're seeing it, smiles on faces. The analysts are really, there's a clear indication that some of the applications that we're actually applying models onto is useful, if you will. And the fact that our analysts are getting a bit of a reprieve, if you will, for those monotone and those mundane type of tasks or those long tasks that would typically take, I think that's really an area where we're seeing some improvements on that one.
Any other views?
I think you have a clear use case in mind. Run your own tests to actually see if it does perform well on those, and asking your peers at other companies who may be using these products and really understanding if they do have value for you.
Sarah?
I echo the testing side of things and also trusting track record of the company and that or the solution that you are looking at could be trusting indicator.
Great. And I think my suggestion would be demand the evidence. If they can assert it is true, show me the evidence. With what caveats, in what environments has it delivered the value that it has claimed? And I think that will act like sunlight to vampires in the world of snake oil. So here's a great question, actually. Celebrating failure, which I think we're always encouraged to do. You've applied AI for a number of cyber applications. Has it ever gone wrong? And if so, how? And what have you done to prevent the problems in the future? Go on, Wim. Has it ever gone wrong operationally as you've deployed it into the pipelines?
I think we're using it for dog fooding a lot, and it's you work with the model closely, and you can essentially see its thinking and correct it when it's wrong. Nothing catastrophic, nothing bad.
Okay.
I can, maybe. So I'll go back to the co-pilot that we have running against the publications and whatnot. And again, I've got one analyst, and she is brilliant. She knows everything there is to know about all of our publications. God love her, she's retiring. This is why we got this co-pilot coming in. Don't
Tell the union.
And so the folks that actually built the model using the RAG solution, they asked us for 25 generic questions and what you would ask the publications, if you will. What would you ask of it? We provided those 25 questions, and it wasn't bad. I think he came back and said it was about an 85-90% solution. But what we did to make it better now is I've got 3 or 4 analysts now that are using it on a daily routine. And now they're actually querying the model to make it better and providing feedback. So there's a feedback loop right now. Again, this is in a sandbox, like it's internal to us, so it's nothing crazy out there. But we're really using the human knowledge before the human knowledge is totally overrun, if you will, to enhance the model itself. So it was not too bad of a success.
Very good.
Yeah.
This is a really complex question, so with only 5 minutes to go, we should ask it. The way humans think and the way our AI generates outputs are different. Humans engage in storytelling, can innovate and create. Will AI ever replace people? When do we get to
No.
artificial general intelligence? No is the Canadian government position. Wim?
It's a very broad question.
Do you think it's standard? Do you see the trajectory where that we would literally have AI which is able to be creative, really, in that way, that human spark, that lateral thinking that
Well, yeah. What do I think? I think we've seen with image generation that models can be extremely creative. I think when you even talk to Claude, it has it's known for its very good style and can write poetry that's nice and so forth. So yeah, I think there's creativity already there. Like humans, the historically what we've been trained on ourselves, we're moving in different ways. The models are doing similar things.
Okay. Sarah, any views?
I think, I agree. Creativity is already there, especially on the image generation. I don't think it will replace the human, but I think we will see the AI to resemble more and more the way that human think, because typically we think from different perspective and we generate a final, let's say, thought that is encompassing multiple point of view. And there are already studies or already pilots on different algorithms or different approaches in order to achieve that. For example, agentic AI, what's the name? Tree of thoughts and stuff like that try to resemble that. So I think we'll see AI becoming more, resembling more and more human. I don't think we'll ever replace human minds, of course.
So it's going to force human evolution, is what I hear. We will adapt to the technology rather
That would be
than.
nice.
So many of the potential cyber applications of AI are of value to both adversaries as well, e.g., finding vulnerabilities and weaknesses. How should we balance the risks against the benefits?
Okay.
I'll start people off with an optimistic view, which is there are more good people who want to use AI for good than bad people that want to use AI for bad. So, in theory, if that is true, we will net out gain from the cyber defense applications of AI, even if there is an improvement in adversary capability. But please.
No, I couldn't say it any better. That was really well said. I think you're right. I mean, look at the community here today. We're all in it for the betterment, for the good of it. And I think that far outweighs the threats to or threats from, depending on which way you look at it. The way we're applying it in our defensive cyber measures right now are showing huge dividends. So we're on that right track. I think the mindset, and I'll hand it over to Wim, who's actually growing up in this space. That mindset that we're instilling today is the right mindset to carry on with.
Thank you. Okay, 30 seconds for Wim, 30 seconds for Sarah, and we'll bring it to a close.
I just blanked on the question. Can you ask again?
Yeah, which is how do we balance the risk, the adversarial benefit from the application of AI, and do we need to?
So plus one on you on the we've seen massive investment in defensive cybersecurity, and it's that balance has stayed strong. And I think it's I would encourage people to read the responsible scaling policy for Anthropic on how we think about balancing risks and scaling.
Thank you, Sarah. Last word for you.
I think there are, every technology comes with good and bad uses. So it is really a balance of what are the intentions in terms of the larger community is going to try to use it for good and for defense. And the other thing is try to put regulations against unintentional bad uses that could help a little bit reducing the threat from that.
Well, thank you. So what I take from that is that the onus is on us to get it adopted, get the benefit from it quicker than our adversaries will. So please join me in thanking our panelists. And, thank you very much for coming, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you now. Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, enjoy that.